Chapter 1. Personality is not identity. You have been told your entire life to be yourself. You have been told that your thoughts, your feelings, your quirks, and your habits are sacred. That your personality defines you. That it is something permanent that cannot change. That you should accept it, protect it, and never try to alter it. That advice is a lie. It is the reason most people fail to grow, to lead, and to earn respect. Personality is learned behavior. It is a collection of patterns, reactions, and habits. Your environment, your upbringing, and your past experiences shaped it. What you think of as your true self is often just a default way of responding to the world. Every habit, every reflex, every repeated response is not your soul. It is a learned pattern, and patterns can be changed. The first step in taking control of your life is to stop confusing personality with identity. Identity is who you choose to be. Personality is how you behave by default. Identity is deliberate and conscious. Personality is automatic. Most people fail because they never make this distinction. They coast, rationalize, and blame circumstances, and they remain stuck. Look at yourself closely. How do you react to criticism? How do you behave in conflict? How do you act when no one is watching? If your responses are consistent and predictable, you are trapped by your personality. It may feel comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. You may believe that your traits are permanent. You may tell yourself that you are naturally shy, sensitive, introverted, or anxious. Those labels are irrelevant. Shyness is a learned avoidance strategy. Sensitivity is a learned overreaction. Introversion is often a habit of avoiding challenges. None of these traits are immutable. They are not your identity. The world does not reward your natural self. It rewards results, influence, and effectiveness. Your default personality either helps you achieve them or holds you back completely. The key to success is to see your personality as a tool, not as a definition of who you are. A poorly calibrated tool will fail under pressure. A redesigned tool can bend the world to your will. The difference is conscious effort. Most people avoid this work because it is uncomfortable. Changing your personality means acting against ingrained instincts. It feels fake at first. It feels awkward. People notice, and some may resist. That is normal. Growth is never quiet or convenient. It is disruptive. Start by observing yourself without judgment. Watch your default behaviors and write them down. Stop rationalizing why you are the way you are. Accept the patterns that hold you back. Then choose which patterns to discard and which to keep. Some behaviors, like excessive people-pleasing or over-apologizing, cost you opportunities. Others, like assertiveness, emotional control, and strategic unpredictability, are valuable and can be learned. You will feel uncomfortable. You will feel like an actor pretending to be someone else. That is proof you are breaking old habits and forming new ones. Nothing external will fix your personality. Not motivation, not books, not mentors, not affirmations. Only deliberate action matters. Personality is not identity. Identity is what you construct consciously, piece by piece, day by day. By understanding this, you gain control over the single most overlooked factor in human performance, how you act under pressure. The way you respond automatically defines how much success, respect, and freedom you will experience. Chapter 1 lays this foundation. Everything else builds on it. Chapter 2, Be Yourself, is a lie. You have heard it 1,000 times. Be yourself. Be authentic. Don't try to change who you are. Everyone says this as if it were universal truth, as if your natural self is a gift that the world should accommodate. It is not a gift. It is a trap. It is the single biggest reason people stay average, invisible, and frustrated in life. Being yourself will not earn respect, influence, or results. Most people are not impressive. Most people are predictable. Most people are weak. If you just be yourself, you will live your life within the limits that were handed to you, whether by upbringing, personality, or circumstance. You will repeat the same mistakes, say the same things, react the same way, and complain the same way, and nothing will change. The first step is realizing that who you are is largely a collection of habits, fears, and reactions. Most of it was trained into you over decades. Yourself is not some divine essence. It is a set of patterns, and these patterns can be dismantled, modified, or rebuilt entirely. You can take control of the way you respond to the world, the way people perceive you, and the way your life unfolds. The problem is that most people never attempt it because they are terrified of discomfort. They prefer stagnation, excuses, and the safety of familiarity. They equate change with betrayal of self. That is absurd. Change is the only path to freedom. Consider how many people hide behind their natural personality to excuse failure. They are shy, quiet, passive, emotional, or anxious, and they claim it is who they are. They tell themselves it is a permanent trait, an unchangeable flaw. They believe the world should accommodate their limitations. And when it does not, they blame the world. If you are one of these people, this is the hardest truth you will ever hear. The world does not accommodate weakness. It rewards strength, decisiveness, and skillful action. Personality does not matter. Performance does. Influence does. Results do. Being yourself is a lie, because most people are fundamentally predictable. They react the same way every time, and these reactions define their limits. If you always avoid conflict, you will never lead. If you always seek approval, you will never command respect. If you always overthink and hesitate, opportunities will pass you by. Personality is not identity, and being yourself is a refusal to take responsibility for your behavior. It is a surrender disguised as authenticity. Rewriting your personality begins with conscious observation. Watch yourself in every interaction, every conversation, every decision. Notice your patterns. How do you act when challenged? How do you respond to criticism? How do you handle rejection? How do you act when no one is watching? This is your default programming. Many people are terrified to look at it honestly because they fear what they might find. Most of it is weak, ineffective, and self-limiting. That is precisely why it must be addressed. Once you see these patterns, you must dismantle the ones that do not serve you. People-pleasing, over-apologizing, avoidance, hesitation, overthinking, reactive anger, fear of confrontation, excessive sensitivity. These traits are holding you back. They can be replaced one by one with behaviors that serve your goals. You must consciously practice new responses until they become automatic. At first it will feel fake, at first it will feel awkward. People may notice and even resist it. That is part of the process. Growth is never convenient, and the path to power is never easy. The lie of be yourself also encourages passivity. It tells you that improvement is optional. It tells you that your natural tendencies are sufficient. It tells you that effort is secondary to authenticity. That is nonsense. Effort, discipline, and deliberate practice are everything. To achieve influence, respect, and mastery, you must intentionally design your personality. You must build habits that produce power. You must engineer the way you act under stress, conflict, and scrutiny. That is the reality that no one will tell you because it requires you to face your own flaws without excuses. Personality is a tool. It is a tool that must be sharpened, adjusted, and deployed strategically. Imagine a dull knife. It will cut eventually, but it will struggle, fail, and frustrate you. A sharp knife will cut efficiently, cleanly, and reliably. Your personality is the knife, and most people are walking around with dull blades, convinced that their bluntness is authenticity. They are wrong. You must sharpen your edge. You must shape your behavior until it cuts with precision. One of the most important lessons is that discomfort is the currency of change. If something feels awkward, unnatural, or wrong at first, that is evidence that you are moving in the right direction. Old habits are comfortable. They are predictable. They are familiar. New habits are uncomfortable. They feel strange. They feel like you are pretending. You are not pretending. You are training yourself to operate at a higher level than your current defaults allow. The world does not respect excuses. It does not respect honesty about weakness. It respects effectiveness, results, and consistency. If you allow yourself to remain authentic in the way most people define it, you will remain trapped in mediocrity. Personality is not sacred. Your natural responses are not your identity. They are patterns, and patterns can be changed. You must stop hiding behind who you are and start constructing who you need to be. It is not about becoming someone you are not. It is about evolving into the version of yourself that the world demands. That version is stronger, calmer, more assertive, and more strategically unpredictable. That version does not react automatically to every stimulus. It chooses responses deliberately. It commands respect without seeking permission. It wins without announcing itself. That version can be built, but it requires honesty, observation, discipline, and relentless practice. Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for inspiration. Do not wait for approval. No one is coming to tell you that change is acceptable or to guide you through the process. The responsibility is entirely yours. The task is uncomfortable, exhausting, and often lonely, but it is the only way to take control of your life. Being yourself is a lie. Recognizing it and acting to reconstruct your personality is the truth. Start observing, start choosing, start practicing. This chapter is not the end, it is the beginning. Every trait, every habit, every automatic reaction is a building block. Build consciously or continue to be built by circumstance. Your personality is not your identity. You are not trapped by what you think you are. You are free to reconstruct it, piece by piece, until it serves your life, your goals, and the influence you seek. They wait for a surge of energy, a burst of inspiration, or some external push that will magically make them productive, disciplined, or effective. They believe that one moment of emotional high will carry them through months of hard work, resistance, and discomfort. It never does. Motivation is temporary. Motivation is unreliable. Motivation does not build skill, influence, or character. Waiting for it is a trap, and the longer you wait, the longer you remain mediocre. Look around. Most people who claim to be motivated are the same people who fail to finish projects, quit jobs, or never take risks. They get excited in the moment, post quotes online, feel their chest tighten, and then fade back into routine. That is the illusion of motivation. It feels productive. It feels inspiring. It changes nothing. The truth is that results are produced by action, not feeling. You act regardless of how you feel. You perform regardless of whether motivation is present. That is the mark of a person who is serious about change. Discipline is the antidote to motivation. Discipline does not wait for feelings. Discipline does not negotiate with excuses. Discipline is a practice of consistency, of showing up, of doing what needs to be done even when it feels wrong, boring, or uncomfortable. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the engine. If you rely on sparks, you will burn out. If you rely on the engine, you will move forward regardless of circumstances. Most people never learn this. They chase motivation as if it were a person, and they complain when it does not arrive. To build discipline, you must first accept that no one will come to push you. No one will tell you to start, to continue, to persevere. You are entirely responsible for your action. You are entirely responsible for creating the conditions that make you productive. If your environment is weak, it will undermine you. If your friends are lazy, they will slow you down. If you wait for inspiration, you will be left behind. Motivation is a lie. Discipline is a fact. It is real. It is measurable. It produces results. Most people avoid discipline because it is uncomfortable. Discipline requires doing things you do not want to do. It requires pushing through resistance. It requires sacrificing comfort, approval, and sometimes even relationships. Most people are addicted to comfort. They are addicted to avoidance. They are addicted to pretending that they will act tomorrow, next week, or when the right feeling comes. That day never arrives. It is always tomorrow. That is why they fail. That is why they complain. That is why they remain average. The next step is to stop chasing motivation and start designing routines that force action. Habits are the mechanical version of discipline. They are action made automatic. A habit does not wait for emotion. A habit does not negotiate. A habit does not feel inspired or tired. It simply occurs because you have programmed it into your life. If you want to be productive, influential, or powerful, you must build habits that make action inevitable. You cannot rely on willpower alone because willpower is finite. You cannot rely on motivation because it is fleeting. You must rely on systems that make results unavoidable. Observe your life. Where do you wait for motivation? In your career, in relationships, in health, in skill building, in finance. Wherever you rely on feeling to act, you fail. Wherever you rely on external validation to move, you stall. That is the gap between ordinary people and those who succeed. Ordinary people hope. Successful people act. They act even when they do not want to. They act when fear is present. They act when doubt exists. They act when everything in them resists. That is how results are made. Discipline is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It does not feel good, but it builds character. It builds credibility. It builds competence. Motivation may inspire speeches, posts, or temporary bursts, but discipline builds reality. The strongest people you know are not the ones who felt motivated. They are the ones who acted without it. They are the ones who worked quietly, relentlessly, and consistently, while others waited for permission, inspiration, or emotional alignment. To cultivate this mindset, you must begin small. Choose actions that are painful, boring, or uncomfortable, and perform them every day without fail. It can be writing, training, learning, networking, or practicing a skill. Start with a small, achievable task and make it non-negotiable. Do it regardless of how you feel. Then add more. build momentum. The initial discomfort is proof that you are rewiring yourself. You are moving from reliance on emotion to reliance on action. You are moving from waiting to execution. The most dangerous part of relying on motivation is that it creates the illusion of progress. People feel like they are doing something when they post, talk, plan, or fantasize. But without action, nothing changes. Motivation is a mirror of intent, not reality. You can feel motivated all day, all week, all year, and remain exactly where you started. Action changes everything. Discipline ensures that action continues when motivation disappears. It is the only way to guarantee results. Accept that you will never feel like it. Accept that inspiration is optional and rare. Accept that the world does not reward feelings or intent. Only results matter. Only action matters. Only consistent, deliberate, disciplined action matters. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. You must stop chasing sparks and build fire. That is the difference between ordinary people and those who achieve influence, power, and mastery. The truth is uncomfortable. You will resist it. You will doubt it. You will wish for easier paths. That is natural. But the path to mastery, the path to building the personality and identity that serves your life, requires accepting this truth. Motivation is useless. Discipline is everything. Action does not wait for inspiration. Success does not wait for feeling. Only relentless, consistent action produces freedom, results, and power. Chapter 3 establishes this principle because every other skill, habit, and behavior you build depends on it. Without discipline, personality cannot be engineered, influence cannot be claimed. Goals cannot be reached. Waiting for motivation is surrender disguised as hope. Acting without motivation is victory disguised as work. The difference is simple, brutal, and entirely under your control. Chapter 4. Comfort. Comfort is seductive because it feels safe, predictable, and easy. It masks failure and justifies inaction. It whispers lies, that you are fine the way you are, that small effort is enough, that risk is dangerous. Comfort is the single most destructive force in personal growth, and it is invisible until it is too late. The world does not reward comfort. It rewards those who endure pain, take risks, and make sacrifices. It rewards those who are willing to be uncomfortable even when it feels wrong. The truth is that most people do not fail because they lack skill or intelligence. They fail because they chose comfort over action, routine over growth, and avoidance over confrontation. Every time you choose what feels easy instead of what builds strength, you fall behind. Comfort is dangerous because it is gradual. It does not strike like a sudden disaster. It creeps into your life in small, almost imperceptible steps. You stop learning new skills because you are tired. You avoid confrontation because it is easier. You remain in mediocre jobs because the risk of change is uncomfortable. You delay action because planning feels safer than doing. These small choices accumulate into years of stagnation. You may not notice it, but your potential slowly rots while you wait for the perfect conditions that never arrive. Growth is inherently uncomfortable. Every skill worth mastering, every goal worth achieving, and every level of influence worth having comes with pain, resistance, and inconvenience. When you step outside your comfort zone, your body and mind resist. Fear rises, doubt creeps in. Inertia pushes you back towards safety. That resistance is proof that you are moving in the right direction. If you never feel awkward, challenged, or uncertain, you are probably not growing. Most people misunderstand discomfort. They avoid it, rationalize it, or complain about it. They treat difficulty as a signal to retreat rather than an indicator of progress. They assume that suffering is unnecessary, when in fact it is essential. Growth is forged in the furnace of discomfort, not in the cushioned seat of convenience. You must learn to seek discomfort deliberately. You must train yourself to tolerate uncertainty, stress, and challenge without hesitation. This is not about recklessness or foolhardy risk. It is about strategically choosing the path that pushes you beyond your current limits. If you remain in comfort, your mind atrophies, your resolve weakens. Your ambition dies quietly, replaced by excuses and rationalizations. Observe the areas of your life where you cling to comfort. Are you avoiding difficult conversations because they might create conflict? Are you delaying projects because they seem overwhelming? Are you choosing familiar routines because they are easy? Are you avoiding opportunities because fear is stronger than ambition? These patterns are normal, but they are deadly. They shape you into a person who waits for life instead of taking it. Breaking free from comfort requires discipline and repetition. You must do the things that are uncomfortable consistently until they become manageable. You must take risks, face challenges, and endure temporary pain to achieve long-term gain. This is not optional. It is necessary. Comfort is the slow killer of talent, opportunity, and potential. You cannot negotiate with it. You cannot reason with it. You must act despite it. One of the most effective ways to combat comfort is to deliberately create constraints and challenges in your life. Remove the safety nets that allow you to avoid responsibility. Force yourself into situations where action is required, decisions must be made, and results are non-negotiable. When you train yourself to operate under pressure and discomfort, you develop resilience, focus, and a work ethic that ordinary people will never achieve. Comfort also breeds mediocrity in social and professional settings. People who prioritize ease over challenge never confront their weaknesses, never test their abilities, and never take the necessary risks to gain influence. They remain small in ambition, small in action, and small in results. The world does not care about their comfort. It rewards those who endure, adapt, and conquer. To reprogram yourself, you must first acknowledge the extent to which comfort has controlled your life. Be honest. Identify the habits, choices, and routines that are convenient but unproductive. Identify the excuses that allow you to avoid discomfort. Once you see them clearly, you can begin to dismantle them. Replace comfort-driven choices with actions that stretch your limits. Deliberately choose difficulty when it matters. Your growth, success, and influence depend on your ability to tolerate discomfort. Every opportunity for advancement, mastery, or achievement will push you beyond your current comfort. If you shrink back, you remain ordinary. If you persist, you transform. Every uncomfortable choice is an investment in the person you want to become. Understand this: the difference between ordinary people and those who achieve influence, wealth, and respect is not talent, luck, or intelligence. It is the willingness to embrace discomfort. Ordinary people avoid it. Extraordinary people seek it. They do the hard things consistently, deliberately, and without complaint. They understand that comfort is not a reward. It is a trap. It is a slow death. Every day you cling to comfort, you diminish your potential. Every day you endure discomfort, you grow stronger, sharper, and more capable. Chapter 4 is about facing reality. Comfort is the enemy. Avoidance is lethal. Growth is uncomfortable. Success requires persistent discomfort. There is no shortcut. There is no magic. There is no inspiration that replaces action. To achieve your goals, influence, and mastery, you must abandon comfort. You must embrace the challenge. You must choose the path that feels difficult, because that is the path that leads to real results. Chapter 5. Habits are the architecture of personality. Everything in your life, from the way you respond under pressure to the results you achieve, is determined by your habits. Habits are the architecture of personality. They are the invisible structures that shape behavior, influence decisions, and determine outcomes. Most people underestimate them. They think talent, motivation, or intention is enough. It is not. Talent without habit is wasted potential. Motivation without habit is fleeting energy. Only habits, repeated consistently over time, produce lasting change. Consider how many people claim they want to change. They want to be more confident, more disciplined, or more successful. They buy books, watch videos, attend seminars, and set goals. They talk about transformation as if it is an event. Yet months later, nothing has changed. They are still stuck. Why? Because they focused on feeling and intention rather than action. Habits are not emotional. They do not wait for motivation. They are automatic behaviors built through repetition. Without them, nothing becomes permanent. Habits are not glamorous. They are not exciting. They are repetitive, boring, and often uncomfortable. But that is the point. Ordinary people avoid habits that feel mundane. Extraordinary people embrace them. The daily grind, the routine practice, the small incremental actions are what compound over time into exceptional outcomes. A single choice, repeated consistently, shapes your personality far more than a single burst of emotion or inspiration ever could. If you want to engineer your personality, you must begin with habits. Observe how you spend your time. Identify the actions that define who you are today. Are you consistent in learning, practicing, and improving? Or do you drift, distracted by convenience, entertainment, and social validation? The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is rarely intelligence or opportunity. It is the accumulation of small, disciplined actions over time. Habits compound. Neglect compounds. Start by creating habits that support the version of yourself you want to become. If you want to be assertive, practice speaking up in small, controlled situations every day. If you want to be disciplined, set routines that do not allow excuses. If you want to gain influence, engage in deliberate social interactions that stretch your comfort. Small, consistent actions become default behaviors, and default behaviors become personality. In other words, your personality is nothing more than the sum of your habits. Change your habits, and you change your personality. Breaking bad habits is equally important. These are the patterns that undermine progress, weaken discipline, and reinforce mediocrity. Over-apologizing, seeking constant approval, procrastinating, avoiding conflict, succumbing to comfort, all of these are habits. They were formed over time, often without conscious awareness. The first step in breaking them is awareness. Observe yourself ruthlessly. Notice when you repeat behaviors that do not serve you, then consciously replace them with new, constructive habits. The process is uncomfortable. It feels unnatural. That is evidence that change is occurring. One of the most powerful tools for habit formation is environment. Your surroundings shape behavior far more than willpower ever will. If your environment encourages distraction, laziness, or avoidance, you will succumb to it. If your environment encourages focus, accountability, and challenge, you will rise to it. Design your life so that habits supporting your growth are the path of least resistance. Make bad habits harder, uncomfortable, or impossible to maintain. Make good habits easier, rewarding, and consistent. Discipline is the glue of habit. Habits do not form through desire alone. They form through repetition, consistency, and persistence. Showing up when it is inconvenient, boring, or difficult is what turns action into automatic behavior. The strongest people are those who act even when they do not feel like it. They act when fear rises, when doubt creeps in, and when comfort tempts them to stop. That is how habits become permanent, how personality is shaped, and how success is secured. Habits also define your response under pressure. When stress rises, your default reactions take over. If your habits reinforce avoidance, hesitation, or fear, you will falter. If your habits reinforce decisiveness, focus, and calm, you will perform consistently. This is why elite performers, leaders, and highly effective people focus relentlessly on the small routines that define their character. Success is not spontaneous. It is a byproduct of well-constructed habits that operate automatically under pressure. Every day is a chance to either reinforce the habits that empower you or reinforce the patterns that weaken you. There is no neutral. Every choice matters. Every repeated action shapes the architecture of your personality. Small actions, repeated consistently, are far more powerful than occasional heroic efforts. Most people overestimate the impact of extraordinary effort and underestimate the power of small, disciplined steps. Those who master habit, master life. Those who neglect it, fail quietly. Understanding this principle is liberating. It means you are not stuck. Your default responses are not permanent. Your personality is not fixed. By deliberately choosing habits, repeating them, and sustaining them through discipline, you become the person you want to be. It is not magic. It is work. It is consistency. It is uncomfortable. It is slow. But it is real. It works. Chapter 5 establishes the foundation for change. Personality is the result of habitual action. If you want to re-engineer who you are, you must start with what you do consistently. Habits define behavior. Behavior defines personality. Personality shapes your life. The process is deliberate, the results are inevitable, and the effort required is non-negotiable. Chapter 6. Influence is a choice. Most people live their lives believing that influence is something that happens to them. They think some people are born persuasive, charismatic, or powerful, while others are destined to follow, be overlooked, or be ignored. That is false. Influence is not a birthright. Influence is a choice. It is a skill. It is a series of deliberate actions and behaviors that you can learn, practice, and master. If you want to be influential, the first step is recognizing that the world does not owe you attention, respect, or credibility. You do not earn influence by complaining, hoping, or trying to be liked. You earn it by taking control of how people perceive you and how they respond to your actions. Influence is the product of strategic behavior, consistent performance, and deliberate projection of your personality. It is intentional, not accidental. Most people misunderstand influence. They think it comes from charm, looks, or popularity. Those things help, but they are not essential. Real influence comes from control. Control of your emotions, your reactions, and your behavior. Control of your attention and energy. control of your environment and your relationships. People who cannot control themselves cannot control others. Influence begins within. To build influence, you must first become reliable and consistent. People follow those who act predictably in difficult situations, not those who react emotionally or inconsistently. Reliability creates trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. If you cannot be counted on to act effectively, no one will defer to you or listen to your guidance. Influence is not about being liked, it is about being respected and expected. Next, you must learn to speak and act strategically. Influence is not random. It is deliberate. The way you communicate, the timing of your words, and the manner in which you present yourself all contribute to your ability to affect others. You must observe, analyze, and adapt to the people around you. Understand what motivates them, what they fear, and how they respond. Influence is the ability to guide their decisions without forcing them. It is persuasion, not coercion. Most people fail at influence because they try too hard to impress. They over-explain, over-apologize, or overcomplicate. Influence is rarely loud or flashy. It is quiet, deliberate, and consistent. It is the ability to make people see your value, competence, and authority without demanding it. When you act with calm confidence, strategic patience, and selective assertiveness, you gain influence naturally. People notice. They respect. They follow. Influence also requires emotional control. You cannot guide others if your emotions control you. Anger, fear, insecurity, and anxiety are visible. They undermine every effort to persuade or lead. People do not follow someone who reacts unpredictably under pressure. They follow someone who remains calm, composed, and decisive when circumstances are difficult. Emotional control is not innate. It is trained. It is practiced. It is strengthened through discipline and repeated exposure to challenging situations. Another key element of influence is selective generosity. Influence is not about giving everyone what they want. It is about providing value strategically. Share knowledge, resources, or attention in ways that reinforce your authority and credibility. Do not give blindly, or you weaken your position. Influence is earned, not begged for. People respect those who are discerning, deliberate, and principled in how they use their power. Influence is also built through visibility and action. Consistent results create credibility faster than words. People follow those who demonstrate competence through action, not promises. Repeated success, delivered calmly and efficiently, establishes your authority in a way that nothing else can. If you want influence, focus on results first, and the perception of power will follow. Finally, understand that influence requires patience. It is not instantaneous. It is cultivated over time through consistent action, deliberate communication, and strategic behavior. Most people want influence immediately. They complain that no one listens or respects them. That is because they have not invested in the long-term work required. Influence is not granted. It is built. It is a reflection of who you are and what you consistently produce. The most dangerous mistake people make is believing that influence is about being liked or popular. It is not. Influence is about being seen as competent, reliable, and strategically valuable. It is about controlling your behavior, mastering your habits, and acting deliberately in every situation. Influence is a choice, and every action you take either strengthens it or erodes it. Chapter 6 establishes that influence is intentional. It is not about charisma, luck, or natural talent. It is about discipline, consistency, emotional control, and strategic behavior. Influence is available to anyone willing to master themselves first and then project that mastery into the world. The choice to be influential is in your hands. Ignore it, and you remain ordinary. Accept it, and you begin building the power and respect that others take for granted. Chapter 7. Master your emotions. Most people believe that emotions are uncontrollable forces that define who they are. They think anger, fear, insecurity, and frustration are natural reactions they must accept. That belief is false. Emotions are signals, not masters. They are indicators of what is happening inside and around you, but they do not have to dictate your behavior. Mastering emotions is one of the most powerful tools you can develop because people who control their emotions control their outcomes. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. You must observe how you feel in different situations. Notice what triggers your anger, what provokes fear, and what makes you anxious. Do not judge yourself for these reactions. Do not excuse them either, simply observe. Awareness is the first step toward control, because you cannot manage what you do not see. The next step is choice. Every emotion you feel presents an opportunity to react automatically or to respond deliberately. Most people react automatically. They lash out, freeze, or avoid. That is the default. It is the personality trap. When you learn to pause even for a few seconds and decide how to respond, you create space for control. Pausing is not weakness, it is power. It is the moment where your personality can be reshaped. Anger is one of the most dangerous emotions if uncontrolled. It is loud, demanding, and persuasive. It makes people act impulsively, say things they regret, and burn bridges. People who allow anger to control them are predictable and weak in the eyes of others. But anger is not inherently bad. It is energy. It can be redirected into constructive action, assertiveness, or problem-solving. Mastering anger means choosing how to use it instead of letting it use you. Fear is another emotion that holds most people back. Fear convinces you to avoid challenges, stay in comfort, and shrink from opportunity. It masquerades as wisdom or caution. Those who let fear control them live lives of quiet mediocrity. But fear is not permanent. It is a signal that something matters, that growth is required. When you face fear deliberately, when you act despite it, fear becomes a tool, not a cage. Insecurity is a subtle but constant thief of power. It makes people seek approval, over-explain themselves, and doubt every decision. Insecurity undermines influence and credibility. The remedy is preparation, self-reflection, and action. When you build competence and act consistently, insecurity fades. Emotional control is reinforced through repeated action, not comforting words or reassurance from others. Frustration and impatience are also dangerous. Most people act impulsively when they feel blocked, irritated, or delayed. They argue, complain, or withdraw. Emotional mastery is learning to endure frustration without letting it dictate behavior. It is patience under pressure. It is the ability to stay calm, focused, and effective even when circumstances are unfavorable. This is what separates ordinary people from those who achieve consistent success. Mastery of emotions is not suppression. It is not denial. Suppressing emotions creates tension, stress, and eventual breakdown. Mastery is awareness, regulation, and strategic use. It is understanding what you feel, deciding how it will affect your behavior, and channeling it toward constructive outcomes. The stronger your emotional control, the more reliable and influential you become. People trust calm, consistent individuals because they are predictable under pressure, and predictability in this sense is power. You must practice emotional control constantly. Start with small triggers. When irritation arises, pause and respond deliberately. When disappointment occurs, analyze your options before reacting. When fear rises, act anyway. The repetition of these behaviors strengthens your personality, reinforces discipline, and increases your ability to operate effectively under pressure. Emotional mastery is not learned overnight. It is forged through repeated exposure to challenge and deliberate practice. The external world will test your emotional control constantly. People will provoke you, circumstances will frustrate you, and unexpected events will occur. Your reactions define how others perceive you, how you influence situations, and how effective you are. If you let emotions dominate, you are predictable, weak, and ineffective. If you master them, you become strategic, reliable, and respected. Emotional control is the lever that amplifies all other skills, habits, discipline, influence, and personality. Chapter 7 establishes the principle that emotions are tools, not masters. They are indicators, not determinants. When you observe, pause, and respond deliberately, you shift from being reactive to being intentional. You take control of your personality rather than letting it control you. This mastery allows you to act consistently under pressure, influence others without coercion, and execute your goals effectively. Emotional control is a choice, a practice, and a skill that compounds over time, just like habits. Those who master it rise above mediocrity. Those who ignore it remain trapped in predictable patterns at the mercy of circumstance and instinct. Chapter 7. Master your emotions. Most people believe that emotions are uncontrollable forces that define who they are. They think anger, fear, insecurity, and frustration are natural reactions they must accept. That belief is false. Emotions are signals, not masters. They are indicators of what is happening inside and around you, but they do not have to dictate your behavior. Mastering emotions is one of the most powerful tools you can develop because people who control their emotions control their outcomes. Emotional mastery begins with awareness. You must observe how you feel in different situations. Notice what triggers your anger, what provokes fear, what makes you anxious, and what makes you overexcited. Do not judge yourself for these reactions. Do not excuse them either, simply observe. Awareness is the first step toward control because you cannot manage what you do not see. Most people never do this. They live in reactive loops, letting every external event dictate their inner state. They blame circumstances for their mood swings, stress, or poor decisions. They fail to realize that their reactions are entirely within their control. The next step is choice. Every emotion you feel presents an opportunity to react automatically or to respond deliberately. Most people react automatically. They lash out, freeze, or avoid. That is the default. It is the personality trap. When you learn to pause, even for a few seconds, and decide how to respond, you create space for control. Pausing is not weakness, it is power. It is the moment where your personality can be reshaped. Every choice in that split second determines whether you reinforce destructive patterns or build strength, influence, and resilience. Anger is one of the most dangerous emotions if uncontrolled. It is loud, demanding, and persuasive. It makes people act impulsively, say things they regret, and burn bridges. People who allow anger to control them are predictable and weak in the eyes of others. They explode when provoked and then wonder why no one respects them. But anger is not inherently bad. It is energy. It can be redirected into constructive action, assertiveness, or problem-solving. Mastering anger means choosing how to use it instead of letting it use you. You can feel the surge of anger, acknowledge it, and convert it into focused energy to solve problems, enforce boundaries, or take decisive action. This is what separates leaders from followers, winners from complainers. Fear is another emotion that holds most people back. Fear convinces you to avoid challenges, stay in comfort, and shrink from opportunity. It masquerades as wisdom or caution. Those who let fear control them live lives of quiet mediocrity. Fear makes them overthink, delay, and rationalize inaction. But fear is not permanent. It is a signal that something matters, that growth is required. When you face fear deliberately, when you act despite it, fear becomes a tool, not a cage. Every uncomfortable situation you endure and conquer rewires your mind, strengthens your resolve, and expands your capacity for action. Insecurity is a subtle but constant thief of power. It makes people seek approval, over-explain themselves, and doubt every decision. Insecurity undermines influence and credibility. It paralyzes people socially and professionally. The remedy is preparation, self-reflection, and repeated action. When you build competence and act consistently, insecurity fades. Emotional control is reinforced through repeated exposure to challenge, not comforting words, validation, or reassurance from others. Action, not hope, is what destroys insecurity. Frustration and impatience are also dangerous. Most people act impulsively when they feel blocked, irritated, or delayed. They argue, complain, or withdraw. They blame circumstances instead of taking responsibility. Emotional mastery is learning to endure frustration without letting it dictate behavior. It is patience under pressure. It is the ability to stay calm, focused, and effective even when circumstances are unfavorable. Frustration is inevitable, but your reaction to it is entirely up to you. Emotional mastery is not suppression. It is not denial. Suppressing emotions creates tension, stress, and eventual breakdown. Mastery is awareness, regulation, and strategic use. It is understanding what you feel, deciding how it will affect your behavior, and channeling it toward constructive outcomes. The stronger your emotional control, the more reliable and influential you become. People trust calm, consistent individuals because they are predictable under pressure, and predictability in this sense is power. Building emotional mastery requires repeated practice under real conditions. Start with small triggers. When irritation arises, pause and respond deliberately. When disappointment occurs, analyze your options before reacting. When fear rises, act anyway. Each conscious response strengthens the neural pathways that allow calm, deliberate action to become the default. Over time, automatic reactions that once sabotaged you are replaced with controlled, strategic behaviors. Emotional mastery compounds like habit. You must also learn to manage your emotional energy. Most people exhaust themselves in reactive cycles, giving away their energy to trivial conflicts, petty annoyances, or unnecessary drama. Emotional control involves preserving your energy for what matters. It is the ability to remain composed even when chaos surrounds you. It is the strength to act decisively while others are paralyzed by panic or anger. The more energy you conserve and direct purposefully, the more influence, power, and results you generate. Empathy and perception are also part of mastery. Controlling your emotions does not mean ignoring others. It means understanding how emotions drive behavior in yourself and others. When you can read a room, anticipate reactions, and respond strategically, you wield influence effortlessly. Emotional mastery is both inward and outward. It allows you to navigate conflict, persuasion, and negotiation with precision, while maintaining control of yourself and your impact on others. Your environment will constantly test your emotional control. People will provoke you, circumstances will frustrate you, and unexpected events will occur. Your reactions define how others perceive you, how you influence situations, and how effective you are. If you let emotions dominate, you are predictable, weak, and ineffective. If you master them, you become strategic, reliable, and respected. Emotional control is the lever that amplifies all other skills, habits, discipline, influence, and personality. Long-term emotional mastery requires embracing discomfort deliberately. Seek situations that provoke mild stress, challenge your patience, or trigger old patterns. Start small and scale up. Each confrontation with discomfort strengthens your neural pathways, making calm, deliberate responses the default. Over time, challenges that once intimidated or enraged you will feel manageable. You will act with authority while others panic. You will make decisions when others hesitate. You will move when others freeze. That is the power of emotional mastery. Finally, understand that emotions are temporary. They are signals, not reality. Fear, anger, sadness, or frustration cannot control the long-term trajectory of your life unless you allow them to. By observing, pausing, and responding deliberately, you reclaim control over your thoughts, actions, and outcomes. Emotional mastery is the cornerstone of deliberate personality construction, influence, and performance under pressure. It is the hidden skill that separates ordinary people from extraordinary achievers. Chapter 7 establishes that emotions are tools, not masters. They are indicators, not determinants. When you observe, pause, and respond deliberately, you shift from being reactive to being intentional. You take control of your personality rather than letting it control you. This mastery allows you to act consistently under pressure, influence others without coercion, and execute your goals effectively. Emotional control is a choice, a practice, and a skill that compounds over time, just like habits. Those who master it rise above mediocrity. Those who ignore it remain trapped in predictable patterns at the mercy of circumstance and instinct. Chapter 8. Decisions determine destiny. Most people underestimate the power of decisions. They treat choices as trivial or defer them endlessly, believing that circumstances, luck, or time will dictate their life. That is a mistake. Life is the sum of the decisions you make, big and small, consciously or unconsciously. Every outcome, every opportunity, every failure is tied directly to the choices you make. Decisions do not just influence life, they define it. Indecision is one of the deadliest habits you can have. It is silent, invisible, and subtle, but it slowly erodes your potential. People delay making decisions because they fear mistakes, discomfort, or responsibility. They wait for clarity that never comes. They seek consensus that is irrelevant. They allow events to unfold around them while they do nothing. Indecision is surrender disguised as caution. Every moment you hesitate, you allow life to shape you instead of shaping life yourself. High-stakes decisions require clarity, courage, and speed. Hesitation is costly. Opportunities decay. Challenges escalate. Those who act decisively, even imperfectly, gain power and momentum. Action corrects itself more easily than inaction. Waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. Life is inherently unpredictable. There will never be a perfect time. The skill is learning to make the best decision possible with the information you have and then committing fully. Resilience is inseparable from decision-making. Every choice carries risk, and every risk carries potential failure. People who crumble after setbacks are not unlucky, they are untrained. Resilience is the ability to face failure, absorb its lessons, and continue making better choices. It is the mental toughness that allows you to recover quickly, learn relentlessly, and remain committed to your goals regardless of obstacles. Without resilience, even the best decisions are wasted. Decision-making under pressure is a skill, not an innate talent. Most people panic when stakes are high. Stress clouds judgment. Emotions hijack logic. They react impulsively or freeze completely. Training yourself to operate under pressure transforms decision-making into a weapon. You become calm when others panic, deliberate when others guess, and act when others hesitate. This ability is built through repeated exposure to difficult choices and by analyzing outcomes without ego. Every decision, whether it succeeds or fails, is a lesson if you are willing to learn. Another key factor in decision-making is responsibility. People avoid difficult choices because they fear criticism, rejection, or blame. They rely on others to decide, pass the buck, or pretend decisions are someone else's responsibility. This behavior destroys character and influence. Responsibility is power. When you claim ownership of your choices and their outcomes, you gain credibility, authority, and confidence. The world respects those who make decisions and accept consequences, not those who dodge them. Effective decision-makers understand risk. Risk is not inherently dangerous, it is information. People who avoid all risk never grow. People who embrace risk strategically gain influence, opportunity, and results. Learning to evaluate risk, act decisively, and adjust as needed separates ordinary people from leaders. Indecisive people fear failure. Successful people anticipate failure, plan contingencies, and move forward anyway. Small decisions compound into massive results. People often focus on grand gestures, major life changes, or dramatic actions, ignoring the accumulation of daily choices. Waking up early, exercising, learning consistently, speaking clearly, confronting challenges, and acting decisively in small matters creates a foundation for extraordinary outcomes. Every choice shapes habits, habits shape personality, and personality shapes destiny. Decisions are the threads of your life's fabric. Choose them carelessly, and your life unravels. Choose them deliberately, and you build legacy. High-stakes decisions require clarity of values. You cannot decide effectively if you do not know what you want, what you stand for, and what you will not compromise. Values are the compass that guides choices when emotions, stress, or external pressures cloud judgment. People without clear values are swayed by others, distracted by trivialities, or paralyzed by conflicting desires. Clarity of values turns chaos into direction. It allows rapid, consistent, and confident action. Execution is as important as the decision itself. Many people make good choices but fail to act decisively. Hesitation after a decision invites second-guessing, doubt, and missed opportunity. Action validates decisions. It enforces consequences, teaches lessons, and builds momentum. Indecisive action is worse than no action. Successful people act immediately, evaluate results, and adapt. That is how small, deliberate decisions snowball into dominance, mastery, and influence. Chapter 8 emphasizes the brutal truth: your life is the product of your choices. Indecision is surrender. Fear is a trap. Hesitation is costly. Resilience, clarity, and deliberate action determine who rises and who stagnates. Those who make decisions decisively, act courageously, and absorb the lessons of failure build control over their lives. Those who wait for perfect conditions for others to guide them or for fear to dissipate remain trapped, reactive, and powerless. Master decision-making, and you master your destiny. Ignore it, and life makes decisions for you. Chapter 9. Resilience is non-negotiable. Life does not accommodate weakness. Circumstances are harsh. People are unpredictable. Plans fail. Opportunities vanish. The world rewards those who endure, adapt, and persist despite adversity. Resilience is not optional. It is the backbone of achievement, influence, and mastery. Without resilience, discipline crumbles, habits fail, emotions dominate, and decisions falter. The brutal truth is that everyone will face setbacks, but only those who refuse to break will succeed. Resilience begins with mindset. Ordinary people view obstacles as barriers. They interpret failure as proof of inadequacy. They complain, blame, and give up. Extraordinary people see obstacles as feedback, challenges as tests, and failure as information. They understand that adversity is the tool that shapes strength, sharpens focus, and reveals character. If you cannot embrace difficulty, you will remain weak. If you do, you become unstoppable. Consistency is the partner of resilience. Endurance without consistency is futile. People who try once, twice, or sporadically fail because results require accumulation. Mastery requires repetition, over and over, in the face of fatigue, frustration, and doubt. Every setback is a test of your willingness to keep going. Every repeated effort builds the resilience muscle. This is not theory, it is fact. Results compound through repeated, disciplined action. Luck favors the relentless. Resilience requires emotional toughness. Setbacks will trigger frustration, anger, doubt, and fear. Most people let these emotions dictate behavior, retreating, procrastinating, or blaming circumstances. Resilient people do not deny emotions, they experience them, but they refuse to let them control action. They pause, analyze, and act deliberately. Emotional toughness turns adversity into a resource rather than a liability. Preparation and anticipation are critical components of resilience. People fail because they are blindsided. They lack contingency plans, skills, or awareness of potential obstacles. Resilient people anticipate challenges, prepare for worst-case scenarios, and act proactively rather than reactively. They do not hope for smooth paths. They prepare to endure rough terrain and still arrive at their goals. Adaptability is a hallmark of resilience. The world changes constantly. Conditions shift. People fail to adapt and crumble under pressure. Resilient individuals modify strategies without compromising their goals. They remain flexible in approach, but rigid in purpose. Stubbornness without adaptation is failure disguised as perseverance. True resilience combines flexibility, analysis, and unyielding commitment. Pain and failure are not signs that you are doing something wrong. They are signs that you are growing. People avoid discomfort, pretending that struggle is unnecessary. That is a lie. The strongest, most influential individuals were forged in difficulty. Each trial, each setback, each failure is an opportunity to strengthen mental, emotional, and physical capacity. Avoidance of struggle is the silent killer of potential. Facing struggle deliberately is the accelerator of mastery. Resilience also requires self-reliance. You cannot wait for others to support you, rescue you, or validate your efforts. Dependence erodes strength. Confidence, competence, and resilience are built through personal accountability. Every problem you solve, every challenge you endure, and every decision you make alone compounds your resilience. External support is optional. Internal strength is non-negotiable. Long-term resilience requires routine exposure to challenges. Do not wait for extreme adversity to develop toughness. Seek discomfort deliberately. Take on tasks that stretch your capacity, face difficult conversations, and operate in situations that provoke fear or uncertainty. The more you expose yourself to control stress, the stronger your response will be when true adversity strikes. Resilience is not reactive. It is cultivated in advance. People often fail because they measure resilience incorrectly. They think it is the absence of struggle, suffering, or failure. That is nonsense. Resilience is endurance in the presence of struggle, suffering, and failure. It is persistence in the face of repeated setbacks. It is the ability to keep moving when others retreat. Every obstacle is a test. Every failure is an opportunity, and every challenge is a measurement of your commitment to growth and mastery. Consistency over time, coupled with deliberate action, produces unstoppable momentum. Resilient people rarely quit, because quitting is more costly than persistence. Every small effort, every repeated habit, every decision made in alignment with purpose strengthens the foundation of resilience. Momentum becomes a force that propels them past obstacles that would stop ordinary people. Resilience is also about legacy. Your actions, choices, and endurance today determine the impact you leave behind. People who give up leave nothing. Those who persevere create influence, authority, and results that outlive them. Resilience ensures that your work, personality, and impact survive challenges, criticism, and resistance. Without resilience, even talent and intelligence are wasted. With it, ordinary people achieve extraordinary results. Chapter 9 makes it clear: resilience is non-negotiable. Life will challenge you, test you, and push you to your limits. Those who endure, adapt, and act despite adversity rise. Those who crumble, blame, or hesitate remain average. Resilience is forged through mindset, consistency, emotional toughness, adaptability, preparation, and a deliberate exposure to difficulty. It is the ultimate multiplier of discipline, habits, emotional control, and decision-making. Without resilience, mastery is impossible. With it, you become relentless, unstoppable, and exceptional. Chapter 10. Build a legacy. Leave no regret. Life is short, brutal, and unforgiving. Most people drift through it without purpose, without control, and without leaving anything behind. They work, they consume, they distract themselves, and then they vanish quietly. That is not the life of a master, a leader, or someone who leaves a mark. A meaningful life is deliberate. It is intentional. It is designed to create impact, influence, and legacy. Everything you have learned, discipline, habits, emotional mastery, influence, resilience, decision-making, is meaningless if it does not culminate in results that endure beyond yourself. Legacy begins with clarity. You must define what matters, what you will fight for, and what you refuse to compromise. Without clarity, action becomes aimless, decisions lose impact, and discipline fades under pressure. Ordinary people drift because they never decide what they want. Masters act because they are guided by unshakable principles. They know the value of time, the cost of failure, and the importance of focus. They align every choice, habit, and effort with a purpose that transcends the moment. Action is the currency of legacy. Ideas, intentions, and plans are worthless without execution. Most people die with their dreams still in their heads. Masters die with results in their hands, influence in their actions, and impact in the world. Every decision you make, every habit you repeat, every challenge you endure contributes to the footprint you leave behind. Action is irreversible. It shapes perception, creates opportunity, and writes the story that others will remember. Consistency amplifies legacy. One extraordinary effort is impressive but fleeting. Repeated excellence creates a reputation that cannot be ignored. The world rewards those who show up, deliver results, and persist despite obstacles. Momentum is the multiplier of influence. Small, deliberate actions compounded over years transform average people into legends in their own right. If you want to leave a mark, you must embrace the long game, the daily grind, the repetition that others avoid. Influence, when combined with resilience, extends legacy. People remember those who endure hardship with grace, who act decisively under pressure, and who inspire others through their strength. Influence is not about popularity, it is about the ability to guide, shape, and affect outcomes long after you are gone. Those who cultivate influence through deliberate action leave a lasting mark because their ideas, decisions, and impact persist. Emotional mastery and self-control are essential to legacy. People who burn bridges, lash out, or react impulsively destroy the potential for long-term influence. Masters maintain composure, even under attack, and act strategically to protect reputation, authority, and effectiveness. Emotional discipline ensures that your actions reinforce your impact rather than diminish it. The control you exert over yourself multiplies the respect and influence you leave behind. Your legacy is also defined by what you endure. Life will challenge you relentlessly. Pain, failure, and adversity are inevitable. Those who shrink, quit, or blame circumstances leave nothing but regret. Those who endure, adapt, and overcome create a story of triumph, resilience, and power. Hardship is not a punishment, it is a proving ground. How you respond to it determines whether you leave a whisper or a roar in history. Time is your ultimate constraint. Every day wasted on distractions, fear, or indecision is a day that can never be reclaimed. Ordinary people hope for more time, extraordinary people demand it. They ruthlessly eliminate trivialities, avoid wasted energy, and focus relentlessly on tasks that amplify their impact. Legacy is built not by chance but by discipline, focus, and ruthless prioritization. Generational impact matters. True mastery is not just personal success, it is influence that affects others, inspires action, and creates structures that endure. Those who act only for themselves are limited. Those who teach, build systems, mentor, and innovate extend their influence far beyond personal achievement. Legacy is measured not by personal gain, but by the echoes of your impact in others' lives. Do not fear failure, death, or judgment. Fear of loss or embarrassment is irrelevant when your actions are deliberate, disciplined, and aligned with purpose. Regret is the silent killer of ordinary lives. Those who refuse to act, who hide, who wait for permission, die quietly, burdened by what could have been. Masters act decisively, endure relentlessly, and accept consequences without complaint. They live fully, boldly, and intentionally. Chapter 10 concludes with a stark, unavoidable truth: your life is your legacy. Every choice, habit, emotion, decision, and action contributes to it. Leave no regret. Abandon mediocrity. Refuse comfort. Embrace discomfort, discipline, and action. Master yourself, master your environment, and influence the world deliberately. Build a legacy that endures beyond you, because fleeting comfort is worthless and temporary results mean nothing. Only relentless action, consistent excellence, and deliberate influence create permanence in a transient world. The final question is simple. Will you live like everyone else, drifting in mediocrity and fading quietly? Or will you live intentionally, master yourself, and leave a mark so enduring that your influence resonates long after you are gone? The choice is yours. Make it count, make it brutal, make it absolute.